Yo, it's your boy Sam Duke,
It's your man Tim McHale.
It's your boy Warren P.
and you're listening to another great episode of You
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 Good,
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 Bruh?
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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome,
We
welcome.
getting better at it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, man, look, we pros at it, bruh.
Ah,
We pros at the intro. What you
I'm waiting for
mean?
that. I'm looking for that harmony one day. You know what I mean? Boys to men for podcasting. My
Man, look.
bad, probably.
Well,
Go ahead.
let we gonna get our spirits in perfect harmony because we need it for this one today, good sirs.
Yeah,
To we've had conversations about men and finances before, and we talk about self-worth and what it means to have your self-worth tied to finances. But today we're gonna tackle it from a kind of a different perspective, not just the financial perspective. Today we're going to be talking about provision, and by provision we mean what the man, and I don't want to say what man brings to the table because that's bullshit. Um,
right,
we're talking about the idea that a man provides and what it looks like to potentially provide. Um, I think what kind of sprung this conversation up is just talking about is us kind of having conversations surrounding, you know, what life looks like when the money ain't right or the money's a little funny for men,
mhm,
or what the feeling can be when the money is funny, and also what how you're viewed, how you view yourself, and how other people look at you as well. So I think it's a very complex uh idea to discuss when we start talking about what it is look like to be a man and what it looks like to provide.
right.
Um my boy Mikhail sent me a video, and I think that uh what's Buddy's name?
Trip.
The guy with the bit Trip is a
Trip.
Trip. What's his last name? Fontaine? Is it Fontaine?
I don't
I,
know. I
I
just
think it's Fontaine. But if it's not, then forgive
I'm
me.
gonna look it up while you doing it.
But I'm pretty
shout out
sure
to
his
Trip.
buddy's name is Trip Fontaine. He's a podcaster, probably very well known at this point, on the Tonight Conversation podcast. And there was a video clip that was going around where he was discussing provision. And so, I think we should, watch this clip and kind of break it down, have a little conversation about it real quick.
Provision
Here we go.
is infrastructure. If a man has the ability, the mind, the mental sharpness, and the fortitude to come into your life and provide real infrastructure, then he is a provider. There are seasons in a person's life where they 50 might not look like half the bills, but if he shows up in other ways to supplement and make it make sense, you got to understand that. And I'm sorry, ladies, I'm not sending this as a shot to discourage you, sending it as a shot to wake up. If the only thing you know of provision is a paycheck, then you know nothing of it. If
Damn.
that's what you think a man being a provider is, you have no clue what a real provider is supposed to do. That's why so many kept women are lonely.
Oh shit.
Mm.
Not so many kept.
Jesus. That
So
brother,
so the
he's a poet too.
I know, right? And to be clear, I don't think y'all heard the first part. He said provision is not money.
Provision is not money.
So what the hell do we be talking about on the internet? Like
It's
what is these conversations
I
about
mean,
providing if because he said provision is not money, it's infrastructure.
so, bruh, what I've come to the conclusion is our society in general, and I may get some hate mail for this one, but we are just not smart. We are so ignorant to a lot of the things that we stand on because we don't really understand what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? When your reading level on average in a country is eighth grade, sixth grade now, I think, you know, they may not necessarily understand words like provision.
mm,
Um, I understand provision from the aspect of, I do the prep and stuff. So some survivalism, and you talk about provision and survivalism, or prepping, you ain't talking about money. Money is an attribute that they say that you should have at least $200 in cash stashed away, because when systems are down, like you ain't gonna be able to use the debit card. But if you had cash on you, you may actually be able to make purchases. So that's the only time you talk about money and provision in the same context. Outside of that, we're talking about housing, we're talking about transportation, we're talking about being able to stay warm. So can you start a fire? That type of stuff. And when we talk about housing, I'm talking when we're talking about prepping, I'm talking about tents. You could take a plastic big yard bag and make a poncho, like shit like that, that don't cost a grip of money. So provision can mean a lot of things based on context. When we talk about a relationship, what are we talking about in terms of provision? What are you providing a woman in that relationship? Security. That's the first thing most people think of. If Warren, what you used to say, like, if somebody coming in that house, they ain't gonna see
Oh
Whitney.
yeah, yeah. Hey, it ain't. Hey, what? It ain't gonna be. Hey, what's Whitney doing? Warren,
Right,
your ass better get out there
right.
and handle that problem. You hear a loud
Yeah.
knock at the door, or
So that,
somebody in the house.
but does that have a value attached to it?
No, not according to the internet. Like, no, 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 no. Oh, I can do that by myself. I can go up and
Right.
answer the door on my own, or I can go and
Stop
I
a
can pull the
robbery
triggers
by
stop a
in.
run.
myself.
Like, who
Right.
needs Warren? Who needs?
So that's what I'm saying. Like, the problem is, if I'm talking to a sister that thinks provision is about money, I would have her monetize his security. If
Put a
we're having a
dollar on it.
discussion, you got to put a dollar on it. What is your life worth? What is protecting your life worth? What's the going rate for personal security? You know, if you were, what I'm saying? Because if I'm protecting you like the president gets protected, that protection needs to be monetized so that you can respect me. I'm out here still working. You may be the CEO of whatever, but I do bring value, and that just needs to be established. And that
Because
was
when
a
I walk you
conversation.
to when you ask me, and I'm married as a woman out there, and you ask me to walk you to the car, and I'm married. Not saying that you're trying to get at me or anything like that. You understand the value of having me there, a man there, just as protection and security.
Putting your life
Nothing
in.
extra to it. So it's just, but at the same time, I do want to not make it seem like we bashing. Men also need to understand the provisions that women provide as well. But we'll get to that at a later date. Just
Well, I mean, yeah,
What?
that's go ahead,
I,
Sam.
I mean, I think we wanna be clear about what's
yeah,
women bashing and what's society bashing. All right,
okay,
I think that's the. I want to be clear because these are things that are perpetuated through our society by men and women.
facts.
Because it's like, I watched a video the other day. It's like it's this podcast where there's they have these men where you consider alpha men, and then they have these like beta men on the
I
same
love
stage
those.
as them, right?
I hate that.
It
I
was
don't like that.
and the video was it was so beautiful to watch men who are considered beta men take down somebody who is considered an alpha male, because they're like, oh yeah, I bring in all the money in my house. I am the biggest, buffest guy there is. You are just the puny man, yada yada yada. And literally those men were just like, I mean, so you lose all your money today. What are you tomorrow? Like that, these are dad bod looking regular guys.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, based upon your point, you know, your value is based on your money. So you lose your money today. What are you tomorrow? Are you no longer a man? It's like, what do you mean? I'm not losing any money. I'm not doing. It's like, well, money comes and goes. Like
Right.
that's the way
That's
of
how
the
money
world.
works.
Yeah, that's how money
Right.
works. And of course, these are the guys who are considered the alpha men on the stage. They're just not that bright. They're not that bright.
Mhm.
And I think that's a that's a microcosm of what we have going on in our world, meaning
Right.
that the people who are placing only monetary value on what it looks like to be a man and to provide probably ain't that bright either.
And they're
I'm
the loudest.
and they are the loudest.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, and this is the point that I would like to bring to this conversation, is the warped view of provision over time. And I like to speak on the black side of things because I don't really care about we're talking. I always talk from the black side of things. And when I look and I read comments, and I speak to women, and I speak to men, and they talk about what things used to be.
Mhm.
My grandmother never worked a day in her life. That's what you're hearing. You hear it, and my grandfather, you know, he paid the mortgage, and then you asked them to show you this house, and it was an ugly little small house that barely
Damn.
a pot to puss in type of house. It just is what
But
it
that was
is.
a lot back
Townhouse.
It
then. No,
but
we can't discredit them.
I'm
That was a
not
lot back then.
discrediting. I'm just
Okay.
I'm
It
going
wasn't
to
a plantation joint.
I'm gonna get to my point. Ultimately, that your grandfather didn't provide money either. That was no money that he was providing. He was just doing the best for his family that he could. That he was making what 20,000 a year, maybe,
Less.
if
Less.
less than that. You get what I'm saying? And he was able to do what he could for his family on that. But you know, let's just be real. Let's call a spade a spade. The money that men are making out here now is a lot more than the money they were making back then, but life is a lot
Facts.
differently now, right?
Mhm.
The
Facts.
life is a lot differently now, and so we have to wrestle with that as well. We have to wrestle with what that looks like. And so, from my perspective, it was never about the money. It was never about the money because what your granddaddy gave your grandma, was more than just more than just money. He gave her a place to live, more than just money. He gave her security and knowing that he's going to take care and protect the home. More than just money, he made sure that the cars were kept up and probably kept made sure that the landscaping was like there was a lot more associated to what a man's worth was than just the dollar amount surrounding
Right. Right.
what came into his bank account.
I don't. I agree with you. I mean, honestly, hell, we used to build the houses we stay.
Yeah.
If you want
Yeah,
to keep it real, I
yeah.
mean, it's because I know. Looking at my family history, we've had brick masons. Um, People were farmers. People. I mean, they lived and built everything that they established. And money was funny. Money would come in, but they would have an idea where it's supposed to go. So like money was not the first discussion. You know what I mean? It wasn't even a prerequisite when I think about my ancestors. But at the end of the day, what they provided was security, safety, and security and safety ain't the same thing. Um, but food, clothing, and a way to educate the children. That was important. And I can't think of that lady's name that always the one that says she won't date a bus driver unless he owns the bus company.
Ebony Williams, I think it's her.
Oh my God, she will not stop. She will not stop, and they
Oh,
will not stop sharing her toxic ass quips. But at the end of the day, this is somebody that she speaks towards our community, but doesn't find love there, which I find interesting. Um, but she's speaking to our sisters that are looking for brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like I just
Umar.
we not even gonna let that one slip. You gotta run that one back.
what
You said
Umar.
you said she speaks to our community, but she does not find love there.
yeah, she doesn't. Her partners, as I understand it, are not from our neighborhoods. So, for her to be speaking as an authority, I think is kind of a COINTELPRO style lifestyle.
I
Okay,
mean,
Mikhail,
well,
Mikhail,
um,
we gotta add to that though. Like, is she the? We gotta build upon that because I think that that's a very
Well, it's hard for
important.
me. It's hard to, from my perspective, it's hard for me to build any further than what's publicly known.
What I'm
I
saying
don't
is
know
like
her.
there
I don't. Go
there
ahead.
is a subset of women who have not been loved by our community.
yeah,
The Candace Owens and they're not been loved in our. I'm just being. I hate to mention her name, but this is
Yeah.
the reality. But they have these opinions about us. They have strong opinions and they go far. And even women that want to be loved by men in our community
Hmm.
that have not received the love that they feel like they also deserve have maybe turned
Yeah.
it into aligning themselves with women who don't necessarily love our community. If you
Yeah.
if you
I
kind of catch where I'm going with
Yeah.
this.
I
I got
do.
I got.
Go ahead.
Can I jump in, Rick? Because this kind of is personal to me. One woman I used to work with, black woman, and she hasn't been herself lately. And we were having discussions, and she was just telling me about the many times because she had said, I'm gonna try somebody else, like I'm gonna try a different race, whatever. And I'm like, no, she's like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me anymore. And then she started laying down like the black men that she has trusted in her life, starting at her father, her child's father, her stepfather, her therapist. And she was just explaining to me how multiple people that look like us have let her down. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I mean, I want to go back at her. I want to get on my Dr. Umar on, but at the same time, just hearing the story, like this shit sad as fuck. Like you are going to, well, most would start looking at it like, man, does this shit even work? Because she's one of those that was like, I want to be loved by a black man, but the things when I put them in position, they've failed me, and I'm continuously going through it. And then we can go back and forth with the oh well, what type of men are you dating? This and that, the
Mhm.
back and forth. What type of which could play a role in it, could not. I don't know. Like I'm not living her life, so it's like I'm Dr. Umar 99% of black love only. But for the 1%, and brothers have been let down by the mothers, aunties, whatever, black
Mhm.
women that they have loved or trusted, and they've gone the other route. And like, nah, we need to love us. But there's a 1% where I'm like, I'm not gonna bash you. I'll bash the other 99, but I won't bash you.
Well, it's not for me. It's not about bashing them. It's about where do you get your information from,
That's what
like,
I was.
Right. What are
and
you
I think,
ingesting?
yeah,
Yeah.
what do you like? It and once again, this is a society. This is a social thing. I feel as if when when you want to love something so bad and that something don't love you, you can you can retaliate.
Right.
That's true.
Or that something isn't loving you the way you feel like you deserve to be loved, right?
The
And I think
resentment
that
builds.
there's a resentment, there's an underlying resentment that that builds. And when you read these comments, it's like, yeah, and then what happens is they dig in, right? Like
Hmm.
the sides dig in. Like the women is like, I'm not dating no man that's gonna ask me to help him with rent or some shit like that, right? You know, and it's just like, but you paying 100% of your rent right now. Like,
Hmm.
if a man was to ask you for 30% of rent, that's a come up. You should love yourself
That's a
enough.
win, right?
You should love yourself enough to win in that way, right? And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just
Right.
saying, if you want to talk common sense and talk about what's going on in the world, you don't you get so dug in that you will put yourself in a detrimental position that you don't even want, a position you don't even want, in order to kind of just prove a point,
Right.
in order to prove a point. And to those type of people, I say, read the census.
I
Take some
mean,
time
you
and
you want
read
them to
the
get
census.
data. You want them to pull data when they're listening for quips. And I mean, to Brother Fontaine's point, if the only thing that the woman is focusing on is the percentage of the bills being paid, then she's not taking into account the other aspects of what a man's role is and how that can be quantified financially. Like, we talked about security earlier. Warren is literally putting his life on the line every time he walks somebody out at his house party, or you know what I'm saying, or to
Yeah.
any event. You're literally, so the loss of your life has a financial impact on your family. So to not monetize the duty that you're putting forward, like if you're going to be, ladies, if you're going to be financially focused, then do it globally. Don't just do it at the checkbook.
Mm.
If you're trading time for money, understand that that's what's happening with the man that you're seeing. If you're not, you know what I mean? Like at most we go out to eat, who's paying for most of the time, or is it the man when you're dating? It's like it's typically the man. He's feeding you. He's paying into an investment, which you are, right? At the end of the day, we are always in a space where we are providing.
Yep.
We stay in that space.
And I know it's can go a different way, but I do want to say this, and I'm not saying about all, but that attitude and that uh, thinking that provision is, just financially, is how, let's say, part of the monster that Diddy is born. Not saying to the spot
Yeah.
of beating on women the way he did, which I hope he burns
What
in hell for that.
men
But
men that are not
men with
billionaires beat women.
yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah,
not to
but
laugh at it, but for real, like
nah,
it
but
is
like
that.
when I not even just the physical part with how, because I see it now, and I saw it in, if anybody works in the tech space, to where you start seeing cats who never got girls, never had true
They mistreat them.
relationships with women,
They
when
mistreat
they
them.
start getting money, they feel like they are God's gift to the world,
Mm-hmm.
because we have created this
Image.
dichotomy to where it's
Mhm.
like, oh, if he got money, that's all he need. And
Yep.
if I got money, shorty, you need to be doing what I
Yeah.
say do. Like, yeah, like shit, because I got money. That broke ass nigga
You
over there don't.
you
So
you
you
you're
gonna be
The
with
building
main
him
This
or
is the
gonna
the
be with
primary reason people become drug dealers.
yep the
I'm
power
just
that
keeping it real.
you're creating the money and the power dynamic that's associated with the money, and
Mhm.
and we're perpetuating it, and it's funny because something happened the other day with my wife, and I started saying, you know what, if every time she told me thank you I thought about it as money, you know, I thought about whatever she thanked me for as a monetary investment into our relationship, because that's what people think about when you think about provision. But
Mhm.
ultimately, I think the other day, I, something small like the bathtub was like, it was stopped up. It had something going on, and I just, literally went and got my screwdriver, unscrewed it, pull. She had there was just hair in it. I just pulled the hair
Mhm.
out. The shit was disgusting, and
Mm.
most women don't even know what it looked like, but it was disgusting. And she was just like, ew. She was like, so regular women have to do that on their own? Like, thank you. and, and
non-married women.
and or she just say women that don't have a man got to do that. Like, oh, that's
Mhm.
disgusting. Like, cause she hasn't had to do that for 15 plus years since she's known me, and so I was like, yeah, I do this all the time. Like,
Right.
and it's not, this is not what I'm. We talked about silent concessions. No, this is just me being. This
Yeah.
is the daily man's life, right? And and ultimately, I've created, when he speaks on infrastructure, what is infrastructure? Like, what you got to think about, like, what does it mean to, to create infrastructure? Infrastructure are bridges, roads, stop signs, and that's what infrastructure is. And infrastructure is what makes your life easier. it
Right.
allows you. I mean, I'm not giving it a real like solid definition, but when you think
Yeah.
about it, it's like it's the difference between a gravel road and a paved road. That's an upgrade in infrastructure. Yeah, you could ride around on the bumpy road, but wouldn't you rather ride on, a paved road? Or there used to be a time where you would have to drive all the way around to get to this point, but instead we built a bridge so you can go the quickest path straight to get to where you're going. And I think that's what men do a lot of the times. We're we're working to create that we're working to make the household that we're in operate in a more effective manner. We're
So
paying attention to the little things.
yeah, so what I hear you say is that we're pest control, we're plumbers, we're electricians, handyman,
HVAC
landscapers,
technicians. Yeah, boy.
HVAC
HVAC
technician, future,
technicians.
there you go. Uh, we are pool boys. No, let me stop.
I mean, but you have to be right.
But you have to be. I have learned way more than I ever desired to learn about pool care, pool equipment, chemistry, any of it. Had to. I could have went my whole life, but yet here I am, knowing about it. Um, but just when you look at the totality of the skill sets that technically, and this is now me kind of turning the light towards men, that we should aspire to understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you don't know how to change a spark plug, holla at your boy. If you don't know how to change your brakes, holla at your boy. You know how to change engine part. Like that's stuff that when you look at the high end cars that women drive today. So sisters, this is a message to you. If you drive a Mercedes, can your man work on your car? Are you comfortable with your man working on your car? Is he comfortable working on the car? Because service for a Mercedes will run you about 800 a pop.
It's up there.
And so if you need to kind of, quantify his value, hey, can you change my oil and my spark plugs or my belt, check my belts and stuff like that? Yeah, you're looking at least $12,000 worth of savings.
I mean, or
Add
shit,
that to
learn
the Excel
at,
spreadsheet.
at the very least, learn how to change an air filter. They're gonna
Right.
charge you about $100 at
Just to do that.
the
So if you have to sit there and create a
YouTube.
spreadsheet on your man's skill sets and then put a dollar sign to that so that it means something to you, in order to establish black love in a healthy way, then do that instead of just saying how much do you bring in, how much money you make,
How much money?
and does that qualify you to be the man in my life? Because that really sounds very transactional. And I'm not going to use the word, but it sounds transactional.
Yeah, I
Oh, we
mean,
know what word you
and
want
you
to
ask
use. I ain't gonna
yourself,
use it right now.
what
But
well ask yourself what I don't ever get thanked for paying bills.
Mm.
Like, and I'm not looking for it. I'm just saying, like, think about that. Like, it a man that comes in and pays bills, yes, there's something, there is a value there, but there's never like a, hey man, you got the mortgage again this year, thanks. This week, thanks. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not it from my perspective and what I see in my household, it's just not at the top of the list of things that people are thankful for.
Mm.
It's the other things that it seems as if people like my wife and my kids are thankful for. You know, Warren, my bad. I know I cut you off.
oh no, you good. I was just, and this is, I'm gonna get to the men real quick, but I want to give a quick nugget to the women out here. And I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it at least once every 10, 15 podcasts.
Mm.
If you got a man, every once and again, be like, hey baby, I need to talk to you. Most of us, oh God, here we go again. But this is the kicker. When you tell the man that, and he's like, so what you want to talk about? Mind you, he's up probably already in defensive mode. I just want to tell you thank you for being the best boyfriend, husband, fiance, and list 3 or 5 things. that he does for you, and that lets him know that he's appreciated. Because what I see a lot of times out here is the lack of appreciation and the lack of respect. It's oh, he's supposed to do this.
Mhm.
And when men feel that they're not appreciated, going back to that grandfather that, probably had, let's say, 7 kids in a 2 or 3 bedroom house, but he going out every day to work and provide and to sacrifice, show no emotions. He going through it every day, but he can't even allow himself to do that because he's been taught and trained to provide and protect and be there in any facet he can. Like, the women, majority of the women back then would applaud that man, would respect that big piece of chicken Chris Rock joked about. Like, to other people it may not seem like much, but to that man, because there wasn't much, that they had, it meant a lot. Cause like, damn, sitting at the head of the table, like, yo, we appreciate this. So this isn't, from a, if your man is poor, if your man is wealthy, if your man is middle class, this is just a nugget. Every now and again, baby, let me talk to you. I thank you for this. I thank you for that. And hell, men, if you ain't showing your lady appreciation
I
in
was about
that
to say,
way,
what
do
about?
that. Do that to her as well. Cause
Yeah,
sometimes we'll be in our own fucking head about everyday problems and lack appreciation for what our partner does for us. Cause I mean, let's say if you are paying all the bills, she's providing, hopefully if you got a good one, she's providing for you in other ways. Now she ain't doing shit else but just sitting on the couch and giving you sex. Hey, my brother, you need to
it's just a
go
kept
into
home.
somebody. It's better out there for you. But that going back to, and I wanted to hop into this. How can we teach, or what lessons would we give men that, let's say if they have money, don't have money, other ways they can provide, a better infrastructure for their household, or the woman they're looking to bring into their household?
Can we define infrastructure? Because I mean,
Uh,
I, I I'm
so infrastructure, by definition,
okay.
is basic facilities and systems that serves whoever it is, like the community, typically in government.
Hmm.
You're talking about the water, sewage. Men take out the trash, right? Water,
Yeah.
sewage, um, electricity, transportation. I know for a fact that I drive
I
every
drive everywhere.
everywhere. Um, but that's the basic definition of infrastructure. I pulled it up because I was like, yeah, what is it's like it's
Uh,
the physical structures that take place in life.
yeah,
Like it's what happens. You can physically see it. And to Warren's point, and just to flip, because there's some women, they bosses,
yeah,
so whoever's in their life should definitely thank them too. And that's separate from just the day-to-day stuff,
Yeah.
because they do more than just provide financial gain. They're mothers and their lovers, so they deserve at least some acknowledgement that that's consummate what they provide. So, but
I,
oh, I'm sorry, I was just gonna
no,
say
I was going to add to Warren's question, answer Warren's question. I think for me, it's about getting active. I think that's the best way I can put it. Like, you have to be an active participant in the household to understand what infrastructure is needed. For instance, what Mikhail is saying, if your girl go get a Mercedes, it may behoove you to learn some shit about a Mercedes. And if and for me, I my I'm not gonna try to play myself like I'm Mr. Mechanic. However, guess what I am? I'm
Mr.
a
YouTube.
networking ass motherfucker.
I'm a Mr. YouTuber.
I'm a
Oh,
YouTuber
me too.
too, but I use my talents. I use my talents in order to assist in the infrastructure of my home. And so
Understood.
I know if my wife gets a Mercedes, I have to make a Mercedes mechanic friend. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, I have to, I have to be that person to to create the environment where I can I can make life more comfortable on my family.
Right.
And so if it means I have to go make a friend, I'm gonna go make a friend. I'm gonna find someone that can help, you know, make some changes in in my wife's car, or I'm gonna have to learn. You
Right.
know, and ultimately that's the thing. It's about getting active. If you if you know you need if you're a homeowner, you need to know something about homes. You know,
Yeah.
you can't just not know anything about the home. You know what I'm saying? As a man, there is a degree of knowledge you need to know about a home, because everything to get anybody to your house is gonna cost you $75. And that,
Shit, 126.
I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
I was being
Can't
conservative.
wait.
I was being conservative. But to
Can't
get
wait.
them there, to just say, "Hey, look, I made it,"
Right.
it's gonna cost you 100 plus bucks. And so you need to have some type of understanding of certain aspects of the home. And and I won't say, because people will be like, "Oh, that's gender roles." I mean, girls can do it too, right? But at the same time, it's like at the end of the day,
They don't want to.
they don't want to. And that's not something that they naturally gravitate to.
Right.
Men,
It,
we
I,
naturally,
does it? Can I ask the question though?
yeah,
If a woman learns how to fix a car, does it make her feel good versus it actually makes me feel good? Like
I enjoy it.
I'm actually
I
looking
Yeah.
forward to
I
fixing the brakes on my vehicles. Like
I
I can't wait till I get my parts
I
in.
I enjoy it. I literally like. I
Yeah.
mean, I went to AutoZone the other day to change out a battery, right?
Mm,
And the lady that works at AutoZone, she's like, "Well, it's my job to change it for you." I was like, "No, like I want to do it for myself."
right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't want nobody to come out here watching me, a grown ass man, let you, a grown ass woman, change
And
my
you go
battery.
viral, and you going
Yeah,
viral
it's
next.
like, and,
Yeah.
and
Just look bad.
it's a bad look.
Yeah.
But ultimately, and it's not for me being embarrassed because I don't feel like she should be able to do that. It's literally like you said. I played with cars as a kid. I put things together. I love to do things with my hands.
Yep.
This is an opportunity, and I have tools. How often do you really get to like open up your tools, use your tools in order to do what
Right.
you need to do? Like, nah, I like to use my stuff. And so, I
Every day.
think that get active. That's what I would say. Just get active. Get to know what you need and learn.
Right.
Learn her. Learn your partner. Learn
Ah,
learn if she needs mental stimulation at time to time, if she needs words of affirmation from time to time, um if there's certain duties that she has, kind of take that off of her. Like I'll share a quick story. When me and Whitney first got together, I was in the middle of changing jobs, and we were about to move in with each other. And I didn't have a job at the time. I still had money, a lot of savings, whatever. And one of my a friend of a friend pulled me to the side because we was at the house talking about it, and he was like, "Hey man, so you and your lady about to move in together, and you ain't got a job right now?" It's like, "Yeah, I got bread. Like, don't worry about it. If work comes to work, I'll get back to work." He was like, "Nah, brother, let me talk to you for a second." And he goes on to tell me like, "Hey, if you're not working right now, these are the things you need to do for her to make her feel comfortable and secure. Make her life as easy." It's like, bruh, she should never come home to a dirty house. Never. Now, mind you, we're still splitting responsibilities, but he was just like, she has to see that you're working. He was like, every day she should see you either working on your craft or building, sending out resumes, this and that. She has to see that you're an active worker. You're still looking to move forward. This just isn't it. And from time to time, yeah, you may have to dip into that, but just take her somewhere. It ain't gotta be extravagant. If she's for you, she knows, yo, you in
Mhm.
risk off right now, you in savings mode, but just the appreciation, get creative, like do these things to show her that you can, one, provide for her, two, you can protect her, two, that you still are ambitious about not only yourself, but what y'all will build together. And it stuck with me. Like, cook for her from time to time. Like if she have a stressing day, like rub her feet, foot massage, something like that. I
Mm,
mean, even if she ain't into that, fine. What makes her, decompress and build on that. So when we talk about provision, and I know somebody can say, "Well, shit, what if we both working?" Hey, you as somebody that is creating provision need to understand that extra work goes into that. Extra detail needs to be shown
right.
because if you're making this woman your partner, if you're trying to pursue her and show her that, she needs to choose you over all the many motherfuckers in the world out here, and especially if you got a bad one, you really going against a whole bunch of people out here. Like you have to make sure that is confirmed in her decision of choosing you. And mind you, at the same time, she needs to be doing the same for you. But I'm talking to the men right now. Like if you say you love this woman, you want to be with this woman, like you have to be able to provide for her and always be able to adjust in what's going on in the world to continuously make her feel secure, protected, loved, and appreciated.
Mm. He just needs to figure out how to do it and let it not be about money.
Now, I still want y'all to work and have a job and like
No,
contribute to the household
I
financially,
but
right?
I'm saying like I'm talking about what we talk about, like
Yeah,
because you know in my lifetime I've been laid off before.
yeah,
In my lifetime I've lost a job before, right? In my lifetime I've quit a motherfucking job, like fuck
yeah,
you, and I
Those are
still
my favorite.
had those are my favorite too. But I still had to live and still exist, still enjoy, life. And sometimes and more often than not, I was seeing somebody, right? Um, and I think that the part that is destructive is that when we only look at what we bring in financially to determine if we're going to propose, to somebody that we love. And I've had those conversations like, hey man, I ain't making enough money
me, I was
to
that person.
you
It's a lot. It's a
I
lot.
wasn't trying to name you. I wasn't trying to name you. And but at the same time, you're willing to continue to risk losing her
Yeah,
to somebody that got it, to all these motherfuckers. Like because not because she's not looking at you in a way that says, oh, he don't make enough money for me to love him. She's wondering, does he love me enough to
Mm,
even ask? Is he wasting my time? Is he actually interested in me? And the whole time the brothers over there thinking about, man, if I get this promotion, I'm on
man,
extra.
it's wild to think that a man devalues himself that much that he would lose somebody or potentially risk losing somebody he wants to spend the rest of his life with.
That's
That
right.
that shit is wild to me. The fact
Right.
that we place a monetary value of above what's
But
in our best interest.
but that's why I had the comment that I had about Sister Ebony. It's like that's the messaging. And as a result, men are believing it and they're letting women sit idle and make those women insecure and make them feel like that man don't love me. F him, and then they hear her message too, then because they're hurt. So hurt. They
Yeah. And then they give them time limits. They say, okay, if
yeah,
you don't get me, if you don't give me a ring by, 3 months, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Or
Like it
yeah,
just creates these nonsensical temperatures in the relationship, I mean atmospheres in a relationship that have nothing to do with relationship. So that's why I'm saying that brothers need to kind of be careful. I would rather you gain skills, even if you got a college degree, even if you're already a millionaire. I don't care where you are in life. You need to gain life skills. And I'm not talking about, how to shake hands and I mean cool, but I'm talking about like if you
trades.
own trade, if you own a house, maybe you can pay somebody to landscape, but have you ever cut your own goddamn grass? Do you know
Oh,
what
I'm
it is
definitely
to
doing that.
trim some hedges? to
Yeah,
sit back and look at the work that you've done for your home and the sanctity of the space that you created for your family?
you
Or is it
feel
always gonna be writing a check? Because
man, you feel good. Like I ain't gonna lie, I used to cut my grass in my old house, and we had about an acre of just straight grass. I lived
wow.
on I lived on an acre and a quarter. The house was on like the quarter, and
Right.
then the acre was literally just grass, and it's a hill too.
Oh
And
wow.
I bought that riding lawnmower, and I cut that grass, and I did it probably for the first year of having my house, and then I started writing the check because it got to be a little too much time for me to
Well, that
do it. It was a
I'm
three.
that's another podcast because
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that time is the time when nobody can
Oh,
interrupt you.
I enjoyed that time. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
but there comes a time when you'll wake up that Saturday morning and you look at that 3 hours that you gonna be outside
Nah, nah, I'm
cutting
straight.
grass. You be like, and not just that. Then my lawnmower, I think my lawnmower actually broke, and
You got a taste of not having
eh,
to get up.
exact. And I had a taste of, and this the thing. This also, it leads into what we were talking about. I did not have the knowledge to fix it. Right,
Mm.
I didn't
Yeah.
have the knowledge to fix it, and the quotes I was getting was just like, yeah, I could buy another lawnmower, but I could also just pay somebody to do, this $60 to just come in and cut this grass. So that was what ended up happening.
64 an acre? Shit.
Well, I had
Hey,
a good
that's
neighbor.
a deal, boy.
I had a real good neighbor. And
All right.
he cut
That's
my
a
grass for me.
deal.
Well, he had a vested interest in your grass not looking crazy
Yeah,
too, though.
yeah. It ended up being my neighbor. He still cut my grass now, but he would come
Shout
in.
out to him.
Yeah,
That man looking up, boy.
But he
but
has a skill that
Yeah.
it,
has a value.
he had a skill. Yeah.
So, brothers, I'm just full circle,
Do
please.
Do you feel like we're underskilled though? Like, do you feel
Hell
like
yeah.
this?
My oh,
Okay,
let me jump in here.
let's
I
talk
got to
about
jump
it.
in here.
Let's talk
All
about
right.
it.
So for those that don't know, I'm currently in tech sales, but I'm going to school now for HVAC. And part of the reason is in tech sales, as with AI, with other inventions,
Hmm.
it's a lot of motherfuckers getting laid off left and right. And it's been like this for, I mean, people will say after COVID, well, during COVID, but it was happening prior to.
Hmm.
Like, people come to offices, 20,000, 10,000, five
Mm-hmm.
hundred, And I was like, hey, I'm about to start trying for kids in the near future. So I want to have a skill set to whereas if I get laid off, I can still provide for my family. That's the only reason I'm doing it. And then when I got to the class, I'm looking around like, man, it ain't a lot of people in here. And then the people in here, like, some of them were just trying to get their license, whatever, whatever. And then I started researching. In HVAC alone, 40% of, pardon me, that workforce is set to retire in the next 2 to 3 years.
Hmm.
In 5 years, 50 to 60% of them are going to be retired out. The same thing for electricians, plumbers, and Doctor. I used to hear Dr. Umar talk about this 5 years ago, to whereas he was like, "Yeah, college is great and everything, but we need to work with our hands. Your grandfather, your father, they work with their hands. That way, they were always able to provide for their family or their community." And just seeing the numbers, it's like, nah, men men don't know simple skills, simple trades, to whereas because the fathers don't know how to teach it at this point because
Hmm.
we behind the computer all day, like,
Yep.
our job is into data, whatever it may be, marketing, whatever it may be. It's not, we not getting out there. Hell, Whitney was telling me about one of, speaking of not working on cars, your boy, hey, that ain't my bag, but that's next on my list to learn how to do once I complete this HVAC school. But she was telling me they were giving out internship programs to people, paying them. Now, mind you, it's 18 years old. Yeah, it ain't a lot of money to everybody, but they were going to be paying them what, $1,000 a week to learn how to become, a repairman, and then give them a job, and they would start off to either 55, 60K a week, whatever.
That's good.
Could-
Shit, the program ain't a year
Amazing,
long. Yeah,
amazing. Couldn't get people to show up.
y'all ain't asking the right people. Shit,
I
you could
mean,
ask me that. I'd be like,
I,
oh, let's go.
I mean, I
I
don't
love to
know,
learn.
man. I mean, I think is it IBEW, the electrician school?
Yeah, IBEW.
They're struggling to find people too. Like they're paying people. Look at him. He said, "Look, I'm about to learn to be a power. I'm about to fly this joint."
Well, I'm bringing it up because of what you just said.
Yeah,
You're talking about they're looking at a challenge too.
yeah.
Their pilots are retiring. The sister
Oh
just
yeah.
retired recently, first African American pilot in the Air Force. She became an airline pilot and she just retired, which is indicative of what's happening. And on from my end of the thing, um, they're not hiring 50-year-olds. 50-year-olds cannot get jobs. We're not at retirement age, but we're too old because corporations think we mess up the culture,
Mm-hmm.
because we
Mm.
too set in our
It's not
ways.
a good fit or
It's
anything
not a
like
good
that.
fit,
Yeah.
or I cost too much because of my experience. They can train somebody for less
Yeah, it's
money to
cheaper to
do what I
train.
can do. So what are we supposed to do? You chose HVAC. I'm choosing something that I want to do since I was a child. And at least if nothing else, they raised the retirement age. Currently it's at 65. They say they're expecting to raise it again at least 3 to 5 more years if you can pass the medicals.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, shit, I can do this and fly for the next 10 years if I wanted to, if everything else fell apart. But that's what the bottom line is. We need to learn skills that are not really replaceable. Like AI in the next 10 years will they be the next airline pilots? I don't think so. Because they got
Yeah.
autopilot right now, right? But they're not comfortable giving it 1000% to technology. So you'll always have a job as a pilot. But like I said, at the end of the day, what skills are you willing to learn so that you can be that provision? So I just think that we got a great opportunity here. Brothers do, young brothers do. There's demand and there's opportunity. F that nightclub life, F that Instagram life or TikTok life. None of that shit do nothing. It does absolutely nothing but makes millions to other people. So I'm just kind of over that. That's why I'm like, yeah, vocation school. I like college and vocation school. I'm
Yeah.
selfish.
Yeah,
I want it
I
all.
mean, you need. I mean, as somebody who I was one course away from being a certified like mechanic, like literally one class away, and they took it away from me in school. I
Mm.
took, I took 101, 102. When you take 103, you can go test to get certified.
Right.
And that my senior year, there's like, nope, everybody's going to college. And
Mm.
what I learned from 101 and 102 has still served me to
To this
this
day.
day. Literally, I mean, I can change spark plugs, I
Yeah,
can do
103 is
brakes, I can do.
transmissions. You don't
Yeah,
need
yeah.
that.
103 is the transmission and the motor. We were getting
Right.
into it at
Yeah.
that point, right? We were getting into it at that point, and
Yeah.
you know, in 101 and 102, we were doing all the oil changes. We were doing all of the tires and brakes and doing all of that for the teachers at the school.
Right. Right.
And this was a free service to the teachers. You know,
Mm.
if you think about it, like imagine them taking that away from you as a perk. You have people in there learning, and so you just bring your car. The teacher would bring their car in the morning, say "Hey, it's making a
Mhm.
little weird noise or whatever, or my
Y'all
brakes are
run
bad.
diagnostics.
We
Yeah.
run diagnostics. We'll give them a rundown. If the brakes are bad, we fix them. If the tires are bad, if we have them on stock, we would change the tire, and then they that we what we get is we learned, and what they get is a service,
Right.
Yeah.
and literally they got rid of it my senior year in high school.
Education in America.
Yep.
Because teachers deserve every perk in the world, but
I mean,
and I
hello,
don't mean
right?
those type of perks, like
I mean,
good
he's
perks.
stupid, right? But yeah, but
Why not?
ultimately, I think that there
Cellulite
is
and pubic hair.
I think there is the focus on men's finances has made, I think, us miss the fact that men are not pulling their weight from the infrastructural piece
because we are focused
because
on
we're
finances.
focused on
On
finances.
finances. We
And
stopped learning to, yeah. For the chasing the bag, we failed to pick up the skill sets that really made men men.
yep.
And not only that, help create other men. Because when I was in the
Yeah,
class
yeah.
last night, it was a young. I asked the dude, 20. I think he's 20 years old, and I was like, I apologize before I go forward. I'm about to give you an old man speech, but I was just like, man, you 20. I said the same thing about statistics that's in the
Mhm.
industry, and I was like, man, I know you here just to, get a job. And I was like, brother, there's so much more you can do than just make money. Like, you can teach this. I said, you can teach this, create your own business. The same people in your neighborhood that maybe your age, younger than you, older than you, you can help them learn a skill set to whereas they can go get money and they can go out and hunt, they can go out and fish, and then it builds on other things to whereas, like, a mother, whether she lost her husband or father through any certain way, she can bring her young son or daughter, if she wants to learn, up to you and say, hey, can you teach my son and daughter how to do this?
Yeah.
Can they learn from you? Can they grab it? And then not only are you teaching them a skill set, you can also teach them just values of life. The kid can hear a different perspective. Like, there's so many different things by learning a trade or having an additional skill set that you can put an impact on somebody's life. Just as, if you got a rich friend, whatever, they can teach you about finances. Okay. This other person can teach you this, can teach you that. You great in marketing, they can teach you in marketing. Hell, like, if you're great at the gym, a bodybuilder home, but like, there's so many different things and skills that we can learn from each other. But that the essentials of what runs the house, what runs the community, like, we have been getting away from, and we got to get
Well,
back to it.
well, the beauty of this conversation, and it just kind of hit me while you were talking, is that we look we've been so short-sighted on provision that we didn't realize that provision don't stop.
Mhm.
Like, it never stopped. Like, we all are working men working on some extra shit to continue to provide for our family. And I think that that's the piece of it, that and provide different things for our family. And that's the piece of it that I feel like society is missing. It's like we we're fighting over what provision looks like so much that we don't even get to the point where you can get a man to start providing for your ass. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
and ultimately, like I tell everybody else, like, about everything, whether it be business, whether it be, whether it be relationships, whatever, you have to get in the game, man. We can't be stuck arguing about the pieces of the game when we ain't even
Mhm.
playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We not even playing, bro. Like, and when you're looking at our numbers, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to relationships, we not in the game anymore.
Right.
We've checked out. And so, who gives a fuck what provision is if you're not even playing? Like, what does it matter? If you're not even giving a man a chance to show you that he can provide for you. And I think that's provide, and I'm not talking just finances.
Yeah, because that's only speaking the one love language anyway. And this,
Yeah.
we already know this
And
way
we
more
as men also have to put ourselves in position and know what provision looks like too, because as we said earlier, we only being taught money, 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 when it's just like it's so many different routes. And we have to sacrifice. So let's say that person, that woman understands that, hey, money just ain't about, provision just ain't about money. We got to know what to do for her
than yeah.
to make her feel protected and secured and shit like that.
And y'all need to get your ass in therapy. So
Now look, that's another bit of provision
yeah.
that I feel like men bring to the table. I mean, I'll say, and I don't know about y'all, but from my perspective, I'm the one that brought therapy into the conversation for me and my wife.
I know I did.
Nah, that was her. I ain't even
Okay,
gonna cap. That was her.
but what I'm gonna say is, sometimes you got to know whether or not you're the one that can, fix. The good thing about being somebody that fix things, you got to know when you can't fix it.
How about
You,
that?
you know, and
Now
and
that's a
so
word.
And so sometimes you gotta know to take it to somebody that knows what they're doing. And so ultimately you can be that, you can provide that in a relationship. You can be that person that creates that bridge that you and your wife can walk back and forth and be able to understand one another. And so ultimately we need to start. I like the fact that we broadened, what it looks like to provide in a relationship based on this conversation. And I hope that our listeners, if we're spot on, let us know we're spot on. If we're not, let us know we're not. But I think that, ultimately we've done a really good job of just kind of showing y'all it's a little more to this game than what they putting out there.
More diverse.
Right.
More diverse, man. Look, man. For more conversations like these, please, please, please follow us. You Good Bro Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, You Good Bro Pod on Twitter, and on the YouTube. Please like, share,
Yeah, we're trying to get
subscribe,
to 10,000
hit the
subscribers.
notification
Show that
button,
support.
and drop a comment if you like what we're talking about, please.
Or if you don't.
Oh, if you don't, yeah, drop a comment. We'll engage with you, and trust me, Warren will argue with you. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Sam Duke. I'm good.
God bless. I'm telling Mikhail, I'm good.
I'm Warren P and I'm good.
All right, and just like that, we gone.
Yeah.